Ever find yourself, like, way too deep in research? Like obsessing over something super specific.
Oh, absolutely.
For me, it's like, what kind of shoes are you actually allowed to wear while driving?
Okay, that's a new one.
Yeah, I know. Maybe that's just me. But seriously, when you're trying to figure out the rules in a new country, especially driving, those little details can really trip you up.
No doubt.
So today, we're going deep. Colombian traffic laws. Ready for this?
Let's do it.
We're not just skimming the surface here. We're diving head first into the Código Nacional de Transito Terrestre.
The CNTT.
Exactly, the CNTT, our rule book for driving in Colombia.
Your one-stop shop for all things traffic in Colombia.
And to make things even more interesting, we're tapping into the collective wisdom, or maybe anxiety, of the Colombian people.
Oh, so.
We've got real questions, real comments from people trying to decode these laws.
Fascinating. So we're getting into the nitty-gritty, the stuff that keeps people up at night.
Exactly. And believe me, some of these questions are, well, let's just say they get pretty specific.
I can only imagine.
Okay, so the CNTT. Give us the lay of the land. What's the scope here?
Imagine a giant, all-encompassing guide. We're talking everything from getting your license to navigating those uniquely Colombian road scenarios that make you wonder if you're seeing things right.
Okay, I'm intrigued, but maybe a little terrified. Let's start with something universal, something we can all relate to. Driver's licenses. Article 22 caught my eye. It's all about license validity.
Ah, yes, Article 22. The interesting thing about driver's licenses in Colombia is that how long they're valid for, it's not a one-size-fits-all situation. It actually changes depending on how old you are and what kind of license you have.
Makes sense. So, like, what's the deal with a regular car license?
Okay, so say you're under 60, just a normal car license. You'd need to renew it every 10 years.
10 years. Wow, that's a while.
Well,
But I bet getting that first license is a process. What should someone know if they're starting from scratch?
all right, buckle up because Articles 17 through 25, those are about to be your new best friends. The CNTT lays out this whole system, right? You've got your theoretical exams, your practical exams.
You can't just, like, waltz into those Medellin roundabouts without proving yourself.
Got a chance.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. But what about something a little more real time? Like, you're about to head out, right? And you suddenly realize one of your headlights is out.
This sounds like a job for the user comments.
You know it. Someone asked, and I'm picturing them freaking out a little, if it was okay to drive with a broken headlight and a busted turn signal.
Oh, no. I hope they found their way to Article 86.
Article 86, what's the verdict?
Article 86 is all about vehicle lighting. It's way more detailed than you might think. Like, did you know even having a misaligned headlight can get you fined in Colombia?
Wait, really?
Seriously.
I had no idea they were that strict about headlights. I guess it makes sense now why I always see cars driving around with those, like, perfectly aligned headlights.
Exactly. The CNTT is very clear about this. All your lights, headlights, taillights, turn signals, they all need to be in tip-top shape, especially at night or if it's hard to see.
Makes sense when you think about it, for safety and all. But, yeah, good reminder that even those little things can have big consequences.
Yeah, you don't want to mess around with those kinds of details.
Not at all. So, we've got our licenses sorted, our headlights are sparkling. What about actually driving in Colombia? How does it all work in the real world?
That's where things get really interesting because, yeah, the CNTT gives you the rules, but there's also this, how do I put it, a certain art to driving in Colombia.
Art, you've got my attention. What do you mean?
Okay, think about motorcycles, right?
Everywhere, right. So many motorcycles.
Exactly. Article 96, that's where you'll find the specific motorcycle rules. But it's how they're applied, you know? It's fascinating.
What?
Okay, for example, you'll see motorcyclists just, like, weaving between cars stuck in traffic, even if there's no official lane splitting allowed.
Right. It's like this unspoken understanding.
Exactly. It's like a dance almost. Drivers making eye contact, using those little cues, everyone just going with the flow.
It's like they say, when in Rome, or I guess in this case, when in Bogota.
Drive like a Bogotano.
Yeah.
Exactly. And speaking of adapting, I saw a bunch of questions online about electric motorcycles.
Oh, yeah, those are getting really popular.
Right, so everyone wants to know, do those fancy electric bikes get special treatment? That's the thing. Colombia is all about going green, encouraging electric vehicles, but when it comes to traffic rules, those electric motorcycles, they're treated just like the gas-powered ones.
So no shortcuts for the electric crowd. Same rules apply. Good to know.
Absolutely. But we've been talking about all the, the fun stuff, the driving itself. But there's another side to all of this.
Oh, right. Because mistakes happen.
And sometimes those mistakes come with a price tag.
Right, the consequences, fines, all that.
Exactly. And if you want to know what you're dealing with, Article 131, that's your go-to for traffic fines in Colombia.
Okay, Article 131. Got it. What should we know?
So here's the interesting thing. The system works with these things called grados.
Grados. Okay, I've never heard of that one.
Basically, think of a grado, like a penalty point. Each traffic violation, right? It gets a certain number of grados, and each grado is worth a certain amount of money.
So the worse you mess up, the more grados you get, the more you have to pay.
You got it. And it's not always just about the money either. Some serious stuff, you could be looking at a suspended license, they could take your car, even jail time in some cases.
Jail time. Okay, that definitely raises the stakes.
Yeah.
I think we're all motivated to be on our best behavior now.
Right. Knowledge is power, especially with these things.
Speaking of knowledge, I remember someone asking online about a hit and run. What happens if you get into an accident in Colombia? Is it different?
Big question. And Article 144 is super clear. You have to report any accident to the police.
Even if it's like nothing major.
Even a little fender bender, gotta report it. Article 144, no way around it.
To make sure it's on the record, right?
Exactly. For insurance, for anything that comes up later, that police report is key.
Smart. Okay, so you're waiting for the police. What should you be doing?
Gather all the info you can. Pictures of the damage, insurance info from everyone involved, witnesses, if there are any, get their contact info.
Documentation is everything. And speaking of which, we can't forget insurance. What's the deal with car insurance in Colombia?
Article 42, that's our guide here. Every vehicle needs what they call SOT insurance. It stands for Seguro Obligatorio de Accidentes de Transito.
So, okay, catchy.
Right, so SOT is like the bare minimum, the must-have for any driver.
Got it. So it's like a safety net.
Exactly. Helps cover medical bills, some damages from accidents, that kind of thing.
That's good. But is that all you need? Or should people get extra coverage too?
That's smart to think about because, yeah, SO is mandatory, but it's limited. Lots of drivers get additional policies, just in case.
Makes sense. Better safe than sorry, especially in a whole different country with new rules and all that.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been eye-opening, to say the least. We really went from 0 to 60 on Colombian traffic laws today. Licenses, headlights, those grottos, SOT insurance.
And we've only scratched the surface.
I know, right? The CNTT, it's a whole world in there. Like, did you know there were rules about transporting livestock?
Seriously, you never know what you'll find. That's what makes it so fun to explore the traffic laws of different cultures. It's not just about the rules themselves, it's like a glimpse into how another culture lives. Thinks. So true. And on that note, we're going to wrap up our Colombian traffic adventure. But this is just the beginning, really. If you're intrigued, check out the full CNTT.
Go down that rabbit hole. And hey, if you're ever in Colombia, maybe talk to a local driving school.
Yeah, get the inside scoop from the pros. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And until next time, drive safe. And remember, when in Colombia, well, you know the rest.
Rafe Trout.